against the demolition of Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman's grave. We are learning there are more than 100 Awami League supporters that were killed. Firing is still going on. Anand, what more information can you give us? Anand, if you can hear us, and what is the latest that is coming in from Bangladesh in this region where protesters have reportedly been killed, more than 100, several others have been injured. What action is being taken by the police? Okay, we are getting to know that Bangladeshi Awami League has claimed that there were at least 7 civilians killed by the army gunfire. There were at least 50 others who were injured by bullets. All of them are in critical condition. In protest against the recklessness, the general public of Gopalganj has taken to the streets. The army must answer for this both nationally and internationally, is what the Awami League's official statement is. Anand, if you can hear us. Alright, so those are the visuals that are playing on your screens of the protesters who are being beaten. Lathi charge on them by the local police on the ground. There is a section 144 curfew that has been imposed in the region. Alright, in a significant diplomatic development, the scheduled execution of Kerala nurse Nimisha Priya in Yemen has been temporarily postponed. Nimisha, who has been on death row for the 2017 murder of a Yemeni national, was due to be executed on 16th of July. The deferment follows sustained diplomatic outreach by the Indian government and an extraordinary humanitarian intervention led by India's Grand Mufti Kanthapuram AP Aboobacker Musliyar. The Grand Mufti engaged directly with the senior Yemeni religious leaders, including Sheikh Habib Omar, appealing for clemency under Islamic principles. His outreach has opened the door for a possible settlement under Sharia law, which permits the victim's family to pardon the convict in exchange for blood money, or Diya as it's called. Key negotiators include representatives of the Grand Mufti and the victim's family have initiated talks. However, there has been no final agreement that has been reached thus far. Reports suggest that the victim's family has demanded close to 8.3 crore rupees as compensation. The postponement is being viewed as a narrow but vital window to save Nimisha's life. Senior officials in New Delhi and leaders across the political spectrum in Kerala have welcomed the move. The final outcome now depends on whether the victim's family agrees to accept the proposed settlement, and until then Nimisha remains on death row. I have with me Professor Madhav Nalapat. Professor Nalapat, the situation so tense and critical, and the question that I ask over here is how safe it is for foreign nationals and particularly Indians, now that we are talking about Nimisha and her safety, her life that is on the line. Do you think the government of India needs to do more to put deterrence on Indian nationals, on especially traveling to these Islamic nations where these dogmatic draconian laws are imposed that are of course a very clear threat to their lives? It is not just a murder that could lead to an easy execution such as Nimisha's, but for crimes such as blasphemy, crimes such as homosexuality, crimes such as adultery can lead to imposition of death by stoning, by castration, by shooting.
Well, I'd like to point out that the reprieve is temporary and hopefully a settlement will be reached. But I'm told some of the younger members of the Yemeni national who is now deceased, his family is saying no, nothing doing. We don't want any payment or anything. We want to basically fulfill the law and the law says that the next of kin of the deceased can perform the execution if he so desires. He, obviously, it will not be a she. That is not permitted. So that situation, frankly, is still there, and the difference is. Now the question is whether the offer of this payment in full accordance with Islamic law is accepted by the family. And as I said, I think the younger members of family are against its acceptance, although several of the older members appear to be in favor of it. So it is still very much in the balance, the tragic fate of Nimisha Priya. And yes, you are absolutely right. You are absolutely right. I think Indian nationals should, if they themselves are unwise enough to work in these conflict zones as they have been in the past, and we have seen successful evacuations on a large scale by the Indian government, that if they are unwise enough, then I think they should be prevented from doing so, and their passports should be basically clearly, utilized to ensure that they do not travel to these locations, not by, unfortunately, the deceased individual, as is this particular case, but by the government of India acting for the passport holders and basically saying, we are sorry, this is a conflict zone, we don't want you to enter, and basically warn them not to enter. I think you're perfectly right. That's what needs to be done, and that's what needs to be enforced, so that more such, in case there's a reprieve, that's wonderful. In case there's a tragedy, that's terrible. And the reality is, certainly, I think the government will look at this as a precedent and act in future so that Indian nationals, if they are unwise enough to work in such zones and travel to such zones, they are requested, basically told by the government, please do not do so. Mm-hmm. I think that advice is very sound, and I hope that advice will be followed. Thank you.
Shruti Dasgupta is also on the show with me. Shruti, do you think there is, a glimmer of hope that has arisen, especially after the Grand Mufti of India has intervened in the matter? So forceful and influential is his power that Nimisha's date of execution has been shifted by a day. Do you think in wake of more conversations, negotiations that happen between him, who is currently representing Nimisha, and the family of the victim, could perhaps miraculously allow for a reprieve for the defendant to be let go and return to her home?
Greetings. Thank you so much for inviting me. Let's just go back into why this case is so complicated. It is because that she was in partnership with Talal Mahdi, and that is as part of the Yemeni law. You cannot hold or own a business in Yemen unless there is a Yemeni who's your partner in the business itself. So she began her journey as partners with him. When there was a situation of turmoil around 2014, 2015, she sent her husband and daughter back.
Yes.
While she continued to stay there and run her business. And it is during this time where all the accusations that have been going back and forth has come to fore. That he took away her passport. There are also claims that he married her. He's got a fake marriage certificate with her name on it, and that he physically, mentally tortured her. And basically, all of this implies that he wanted full control of her, as well as the business that she had built with him for many years. When she was found, she also accused him of drug abuse, as in drugging her to control her physically as well as mentally. So all of this shows that he wanted control of her and the business, When she could not break through after approaching the law, Yemeni police has charge sheets that she's put out to them, where she's claimed that she's being misused and her passport has been kept by him. They found that it was of no use. She was not given the correct succor by the law of the land. And so she took the drastic step of trying to drug him, take her passport and run. But the drug was an overdose. He died. And then later on, she dismembered and put him in a tank with the help of a Yemeni girl herself. So there is a lot of layers that has happened. When they ask for Qisas, I believe that is the name that they're calling it, rather than Diya. Qisas is when they ask for an eye. It is their jurisdictional right to revenge when a death of a family member is caused. And Diya is their jurisdictional right.
Yes, we have been discussing this for days together about the laws under Sharia. But my question here is, do you feel that there is a glimmer of hope now that the chief Mufti, the Grand Mufti of India, has intervened? He has been, by sheer force of his influence, been able to at least move the date of her execution.
They want retribution in blood, her blood. They want her to hang for his brother's life. A life for a life is what he asks. So though the intervention was given face, I doubt there is going to be a glimmer of hope large enough to save her life and neck.
Asif Ramiz Dodi also on the telecast with me. Asif, I would like to understand from you, what is your perception about the lack of support that Nimisha is getting from our politicians, our political leaders, Muslim leaders? I don't know why have our politicians shied away from coming out in support of Nimisha in view of the circumstances that force her to take such a drastic, brutal step. She has had no criminal history in the past. She is a nurse. She's gone to Yemen to earn a living. She's left her family behind, and it's an honest work that she has been doing. Having checked his background, does it merit for the Yemen government under the Sharia law to execute her? And the question that I'm asking is, a situation, if we build a contrast to what happened to Afzal Guru, the terrorist who was executed in the rarest of the rare cases, he was hanged by death. There was a midnight trial that went on for days together. There were protests, there were rallies, there were marches in support of Afzal Guru. And I think our politicians were really vocal in, some of them really vocal in showcasing their support to a terrorist, the attacker of the parliament building in 2001. So why are our politicians, the likes of Uwaisi, the likes of the Gandhis, not coming out and supporting Nimisha Priya, seeking justice?
Well, Megha, coming to your question straight away, I believe there are a few challenges and one should understand it. One thing is like, it's not there in India, it's on a foreign land, and in a country where we do not operate our embassy and we do not have direct ambassador there, we cannot channelize any kind of dialogue with the right government. And when we talk about this, we do not have a stable channel there itself within the government that who is the right person to talk to. Therefore, there were efforts. I mean, I think Indian government has been doing a lot, and it's only because of this, because of these kinds of dialogues and negotiations. Perhaps it's not today, it's been a long time, and they are working on this. And that's the result. At least today it was supposed to be done, and it's got extended for some reasons or the other. This shows something that, there is at least a light of hope and positivity here, that something got changed. Until yesterday, I mean, even I was in a debate on the same topic and I was quite hopeless. I was thinking that it's not going to happen. I mean, it's going to be done today itself, but at least we got some extra time. And when you talk about the support, etc. I believe there are limited options for us. I've been living in this, out of India for my job. I know the situation, and as one of the Mr. And the panelist was also mentioning that those who work outside, they should also think about certain things. I mean, I know the situation and I understand what's happening, but the end result is that it's a murder case, and there is a rule for this country, and the country where they do not have any. India has lots of challenges handling this because they do not have the direct representative there, and who is the right person to talk to. Therefore, we even try to get into having some sort of based on the good relationship with Iran. Indian government also tried through, as per the media reports, that was the only channel, that was the only source, better than having the direct negotiations. So here, the things here are like, in such situations, whatever is the scenario, the thing here is that in the court, they are saying that it was a murder case. And here, when you talk about the blood money, the ultimate decision, even bigger than the court or something, that the family members or the direct relatives, if they forgive someone, then it happens. That's what they call blood money. They are not accepting that. Some of them are ready. Others in
we know the history of the case. I'm going to come back to you, Professor Nalapat, and then the question that, how is it fair, in which rule of law, in which country of the world, to leave the fate of the accused in the hands of the victim's family, which is obviously going to be biased against Nimisha, not considering what her circumstances were, what forced her to take such a drastic step. Her reports with regards to the fact that she was harassed, she was abused, she was forced to work over there like manual labor, not being allowed to go back home. Do any of these circumstantial evidences not force the court of law in any other part of the world to keep these things in consideration and then pronounce the verdict, then impose a sentence?
Yeah. Megha, that question addressed to me?
Yeah.
All right. I would like to say that, Kanthapuram Musliyar is a highly renowned and revered cleric, and it is very good that he has intervened. And in such matters, I think, public demonstrations of support are of no value whatsoever. I mean, Indian media does not reach that part of Yemen, the very, if I may say so, the Wild West part of Yemen in any manner. And the reality is, quiet diplomacy is what is needed. And I'm very certain that I know, for example, in Kerala, a large number of leaders of the Muslim community, of the Shia faith, are intervening, as is the case in Uttar Pradesh and other parts of India. So I think these quiet interventions are going on. Whether they will bear any result or not, I do not know, because the dangerous sign is the family. The family, there's a rift. Then the younger elements are usually more in number than the older elements. And if they are demanding, no, we don't want any payment, we want the law to be followed and the law to be carried out, then this reprieve is not going to last very long. So quite honestly, it's impossible to give a judgment here, a forecast as to what is going to be the fate of Nimisha. Although all of us pray that she will be, she will be freed and she can rejoin her husband and child. But all we can do is to hope for that, because don't forget, the tribal law is very different from, from the common law that is under practice in India, and very different also from several of the laws that are practiced in different parts of the world.
Yes.
In fact, they're specific to a particular tribe, and they may differ from those of other tribes, even in the same region. Megha.
All right, coming back to you, to my other guest, and getting a response from them as well. Shruti, a situation such as this, the legitimacy of the government that is run by the Houthis is under scrutiny. None of the countries in the world, barring Iran, actually recognizes it. Again, the legitimacy of Sharia law, and I said this to Delhi. You can be executed for blasphemy, for burning the Quran. You will be stoned to death if you indulge in adultery, or you are a homosexual. How can any country, any international organization accept the law that executes an individual for a crime that person has committed? In this case, Nimisha's crime of killing this Yemeni national. Do you think there should be, rightly so, an outcry, objections raised by the international community, by United Nations, by countries like United States, United Kingdom, to raise a protest, to call out the illegitimacy of this draconian law that is right now being imposed on Nimisha, and the fact that this goes against the very basic human rights of an individual?
It's very difficult to kind of comment and say that this law should be changed, because the law is made for the people. If the people want to work on this law, live by this law and the word of their Allah and their Quran, who are we to turn around and say you cannot? The Houthis, as you said, are not recognized.
No,
by
but exactly,
most
like
of the
the fact that, if there are terrorists that are rampaging Israel and entering and killing, is the world community going to remain mum and not call that out? If Israel has been killing hundreds and thousands of innocents in Gaza, is the international community not going to come out and raise an issue and object to it and pass resolutions? Because that's exactly what has been done.
Exactly. The Houthis is a terrorist organization in Yemen, and that they are in control of the entire nation and its policies. Now, until unless you want to have a war with them and have them thrown out, it is not going to change anything about the law that they are actually putting in practice. Iran has similar laws. You will not be able to fight them off either. Hamas is also a terrorist organization for whom we are seeing the kafir being worn on all the streets of New York, and people are refusing to condemn and their actions that happened against Israel on October 7th now. So it's a very difficult question to say that although the law is draconian, it is enforced by the Houthis on the people, and people are accepting it. There are religious leaders who are accepting it, that are saying, okay, fine, because this is within the Quran and it is acceptable to them. So they are saying it is fine. So we are not in a position to say that it is wrong. But yes, the world's human rights organization should take a deep look and see what is being demanded in return for foreign nationals to work in Yemen, and what conditions they face, and what is the threat to their entire existence that slowly comes after the business starts prospering.
Right.
If Nimisha Priya is executed, her business and interests also go to this man who is now claiming to be the kin of the deceased. So this is the entire crux of the problem. They want her dead so she cannot claim back any of the property, any of the fame and fortune that she has worked so hard to grow in that nation itself.
Okay, I think those issues become secondary, keeping in mind her life hangs in balance. Professor Nalapa, then don't you think it's depressing, it's appalling that we live in the 21st century where the world's democracies have come together, built their laws which are just, fair and transparent, and we are not even we are our hands are tied, because here we say it's a country's law and therefore nothing can be done. Is that justified?
Well, I must tell you, Megha, that to answer your question, many things are done that are not justifiable ethically or morally. You will recall, for example, that when a terror attack was carried out in Pahalgam, I mean, the fact of the attack was condemned, but the perpetrator, often the exact perpetrator, was not even named. And instead of condemning the perpetrators, some very important countries chose to basically, have lunches and dinners with the head of the perpetrating force. So quite frankly, Megha, I'm sorry to say, this is not a very fair world that we live in. It's an unjust world. But I think Shruti made a very valid point that this is the law applicable to all those who work there. And I think these are the risks applicable as well. So I would again go back to what you originally said, and that is that Indian nationals, if they are not willing to themselves avoid going there, they should be prevented from going there. But remember, Megha, it's a slippery slope. The community in the Middle East provides a huge volume of remittances. I mean, several $1 billion, which are very, very helpful in ensuring that the rupee value does not fall more than it has, and ensuring that the level of foreign exchange reserves of the country remain at a good level, which is what it is. So I would say, please understand that there are two sides to this thing. One is, of course, the fact is that the people who work there, hardworking people, they send back their money, and the foreign exchange reserves of the country are very strongly, impacted in a very good way. So at the same time, this kind of terrible risk, Yemen, the Houthi part of Yemen, I mean, frankly, even from there were situations where Indians were basically extricated. Mm-hmm. But this situation, unfortunately, has become very complicated, not only by what has happened to this Yemeni national, but the fact of Nimisha's admission that she administered something to him. And the reality is that if you have a strict interpretation of the law, unless there is a confession, then there need to be witnesses for a crime to be proven.
Yeah.
And where were the witnesses? So unfortunately, I think Nimisha was unaware of this law, and she probably confessed that yes, I administered the sedative to him, and accidentally gave him an overdose. Frankly, the reality is that confession was very deadly for her, as was her action in chopping up, along with Yemeni national, the body, because that made the crime more complicated.
Yeah.
So all I can say, Megha, it's a very complex situation. We can all pray that Nimisha comes back to her family. We can all pray for that. But as to what will happen, I'm sorry, we can't make a guess.
Okay. Thank you, Professor Nalapad, and my other guests for joining me and sharing their views. On that note, I slip into a short break. Thanks for watching Newsx.
यशस्वी प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी के संकल्प सबका साथ सबका विकास को माननीय मुख्यमंत्री योगी आदित्यनाथ जी ने सामाजिक एकता एवं समरसता के उच्चतम मानदंडों के साथ बनाया है यूपी सरकार का मूल मंत्र। परिणाम स्वरूप 2017 के बाद उत्तर प्रदेश में सभी को मिले बिना किसी भेदभाव के रोजगार के समान अवसर एवं योजनाओं के लाभ। 8.5 लाख से अधिक सरकारी और 3,75,000 से अधिक संविदा पर नौकरी पाने वाले जहां निष्पक्ष और पारदर्शी प्रक्रिया के साक्षी बने, वहीं अनुसूचित जाति, जनजाति, पिछड़े एवं निम्न आय वर्ग के अभ्यर्थियों को मिला आरक्षण का संपूर्ण लाभ। प्रधानमंत्री गरीब कल्याण अन्न योजना, प्रधानमंत्री आवास योजना और जल जीवन मिशन से लेकर मुख्यमंत्री युवा स्वरोजगार और एक जनपद एक उत्पाद जैसी विभिन्न योजनाएं यूपी में अंत्योदय से सर्वोदय का सपना कर रही हैं साकार। काम दमदार, डबल इंजन सरकार।
रास्ता है वही शहर।
तू कब आया अभी लाइफ से?
अरे वाह ताई, पहचान गई? शहर जाके आँख का ऑपरेशन करा लिया क्या?
शहर जाए मेरी जूती, मैंने यहीं अपने गांव में ही करवा लिया। वो जो सूरज है ना अपना, वो सब कर रहा है।
अरे वाह छोटी, ये स्कूल में सीखा?
इंटरनेट पे।
इंटरनेट?
हाँ, सूरज भैया है ना?
कौन है ये सूरज भैया?
आपको उनसे मिलना है क्या?
हाँ?
चलो, वो रहे सूरज भैया।
हम सूरज से सिर्फ बिजली नहीं बनाते हैं, खुशहाली को देश के कोने कोने तक भी पहुंचाते हैं। अदानी, हम करके दिखाते हैं।
Under the visionary leadership of Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath, the Uttar Pradesh government is accelerating its journey towards housing for all. The UP Housing Development Scheme is being implemented with dedication and speed. Under the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, the scheme is providing affordable, pakka houses to the economically weaker section of society. Every house is equipped with toilets, electricity, clean water and gas connections. This is ensuring a life of dignity and hope. Till now, more than 36 lakh houses have been sanctioned in rural areas. Families are getting safe and secure homes. In urban centers, more than 17 lakh houses have been built. Every brick laid is a step towards a stronger and prosperous Bharat, because a home is not just a roof, it is hope, security and new beginnings. The Uttar Pradesh government is building dreams, building lives and building a brighter tomorrow, one house at a time.